lot harder to find cattle, I think. So we could see a slight upward trend, I hope, but we'll find out a little bit more about that here in the near weeks.
Cody Hanold Auction Service. This is the RFD Livestock Report. Hey, good day to you. Welcome to RFD Illinois. I'm Rita Frazier.
I'm DeLoss Yankee. Hello there.
Hello. Well, I wish we didn't have to talk about the weather.
Oh, boy. Well, and we'll have numbers in just a little bit. Just how far behind schedule are we now for corn and soybean planting, not just in Illinois, but other states around the Corn Belt as well.
You had an interesting conversation with the guys from Country on prevented planting. What should we know?
Yeah, and we may not have time for that today. We'll get into it, though, as the days go on. But one of the main take-homes was make sure you have all your ducks in a row on this sort of thing, if, in fact, you're going to do prevent planting, because there are a lot of details that go along with that. But those dates, far southern Illinois, the corn date's May 31, which you think, May 31. Well, my gosh, that's 3 weeks from now or so.
Lots at stake for sure.
Yeah.
And with the rivers rising, another rain system moving in, that's a huge concern for the entire state.
Just yesterday, I was just writing a story for our website and looked out the window, and doggone it, there it was, another little soaking rain going on. So some of these could be quarter to half inch the next couple of days, or it could just be just enough of a monkey wrench to muck the works a little bit.
Right. Well, the Director of Agriculture, John Sullivan, certainly concerned. Department of Ag, all of our state agencies, along with State Police, Department of Transportation, all involved. Sometimes we forget about the power of the river and all that's involved, but this spring we know she's there.
Oh, boy, when you watch it flow with that kind of speed and force, tough is tough.
Markets, weather, and much, much more to come. Stay with us.
With this week's edition of Farm Week, the early word, here's DeLoss Yankee.
Persistent rain continues to worsen flooding throughout Illinois, prompting increased frustration among farmers. Learn more about the lack of planting progress and the long-term weather forecasts in the latest Farm Week. Illinois farmers can apply for a license to grow industrial hemp. This week's edition of Farm Week provides details about the online license application process and industrial hemp production rules. Farm Week, the #1 ag publication in Illinois, arriving soon in your mailbox.
No other Farm Weekly in Illinois has as many people on the ground in Illinois covering Illinois agriculture for you with the depth on key issues to help keep you profitable. And don't forget, you can get daily or even more frequent updates online anytime at farmweeknow.com.
Welcome back to RFD Illinois. I'm DeLoss Yankee with the regular report from Ag Statistics, their weekly crop progress and condition report, which showed last week there wasn't even half a day suitable for field work, not even a quarter of a day, 0.2 of 1 day. So that's not going to move corn planting along at all. We went from 9% a week ago to 10% as of Sunday. The 5-year average is 66. That's how far behind we are. 1/10 of the corn crop in as opposed to 2/3. 2% of the corn has emerged. The 5-year average is 22. 3% of soybeans are planted. The 5-year average is 16. Last year we had 26% in. 9% of the wheat crop is headed. The 5-year average is 32. Wheat condition declined again. In fact, it's gone down quite a bit in the last 2 weeks. 15 percentage points worse, with only 38% rated either good or excellent, 42% fair, and 20% rated either poor or very poor. Last week, average temperatures were 55.9 degrees, 1.3 degrees less than average. And for a state, for the weekly average, 3.22 inches of rain. West-southwest at more than 4 inches. Northern Illinois, northwest 3.4, northeast 3 3/4, western Illinois 3.9, central 3.93, and southern Illinois, which had too much in April, started May with more than an inch more than average. And has us wet. 74% of topsoil moisture is rated surplus, 26% adequate. 66% of subsoil moisture is surplus, 34% adequate. And running behind up north in Boone County, Marshall Newhouse has had to deal with all kinds of inclement weather these past couple of weeks.
Boy, if you want to look over the last 8 days, we've had a total of 9 to 10 inches of snow. Last week, an additional 2 inches of rain. So, yeah, we're right at 3 inches for the week. We're hoping to get enough sunny weather where we might be able to get going here sometime this week, but last night, we ended up with another 0.4 of an inch of rain in the gauge. So our planting delays seem to be mounting up, and I don't know whether the forecast sounds like that's going to be remedied this week or not.
Marshall Newhouse is a farm wheat crop watcher. He says in the sandy soil, some guys were giving it a go for soybeans on Saturday, but otherwise there's little to no activity going on in his area.
I would say for most soils, there's some ponding, plenty of mud, and very few would even consider getting into the field. So, yeah, these intermittent showers, they're really going to slow us down now.
Marshall Newhouse in Boone County, Farm Week Crop Watcher. You can read his and the other reports in each week's edition of Farm Week. All the soil temperature readings, though, according to Ag Statistics, are at least 50 degrees, even the farthest north. Just need the opportunity to get in now. Ken Casson is a farmer and farm broadcaster in McLean and Livingston counties.
I measured 4.2 inches of rain in my gauge last week in southeastern Livingston County, and that was pretty much the case across most of our farms. And many nearby farmers had ponds in their fields. Roger Ream farms near Gibson City in Fort County, and he needs several days of sunshine in his fields to dry things out.
There's no place that's dry now. Water's standing in most of the ponds. It'll be a week or two if it turns nice before we get to go to the field.
Now, before the most recent wet spell, did you get out there and get anything done?
We did plant some beans. That was the only field that was dry enough. We got it done and quit that day. We haven't been back.
How'd the field conditions look?
They were good in that field. It was up by Cropsey, and they'd had a little less rain in that area. There were a few other people running in that area, too, but that was about the only place for us.
Thanks to Roger Ream from Fort County for talking to me this week. Reporting from southeastern Livingston County for the RFD Radio Network, I'm Kent Casson.
Thanks, Kent. Looking at some of the national numbers, as of Sunday, 23% of the nation's corn is in, 36% in Iowa, 49% in Missouri, 35% in Nebraska. The 5-year average is 46. We're only at 23 nationwide. Corn emerged 6% complete behind the 5-year average of 13. Soybeans planted 6% complete behind the 5-year average of 14. Oats planted 50% behind the average of 72. And the nation's wheat crop is rated 64% good to excellent, same as a week ago, and 30 percentage points better than this time a year ago. Stay tuned. Rita is up next on RFD, Illinois.
Are you preparing for planting season? We don't mean to be a pest, but here's a few things you need to know before you grow. The Illinois Department of Agriculture now requires special local needs labels, including new restrictions for the use of herbicide dicamba on top of soybeans in Illinois for the 2019 growing season. Did you know these additional restrictions go beyond federally approved labels? Remember, the label is the law. To find out more about these Illinois-specific labels, visit ilfb.org/label-aware.
Attention corn farmers. Your corn checkoff dollars are working with the U.S. Meat Export Federation to grow red meat export volumes. Because when we're exporting beef, we're also exporting corn. The beef industry consumes 28% of all corn fed to livestock, plus additional corn in the form of DDGs, a co-product of ethanol production. Now that's what we call working an angle. Your checkoff is working corn from all angles. Because of the Illinois Corn Marketing Board, your profitability is our bottom line. A message from the Illinois Corn Checkoff.
We're back here on RFD, Illinois. I'm Rita Frazier. Conversation yesterday with John Sullivan, Illinois Agriculture Director. 5 months in, tremendously busy time in Springfield.
Well, a couple of things come to mind. We had a big kickoff out here at the fairgrounds where our office is located, talking about the pollinator program, which of course Farm Bureau has been very much involved with, as well as over almost 24 different other organizations have been trying to promote the planting of pollinator plots and acres around the state to help the monarch butterfly and other pollinating birds and insects. So that program is, I think it's a win-win for everybody involved, certainly for the department. We've already got one pollinator plant planted here on the fairgrounds. We have another one that's tilled up and ready to go as soon as the weather straightens out, and we've identified probably another close to an acre on the grounds here on the fairgrounds that we are going to be planting to pollinators over the course of the next year or two. So we think it's important, and certainly trying to make sure that people are aware of what's going on, and hopefully encourage additional plots and acres to be planted. And then I guess the last thing, maybe, I don't know how our time is here, but certainly African swine fever has been in the news with what's going on in China and some of the other Asian countries there. There's been a concerted effort, a multi-state effort from here in the U.S. of states that are working together to try to, well, number one, do what we can to prevent it from coming to this country, but I guess even perhaps more importantly, if it comes to this country, how we're going to handle it, what kind of a emergency plan will be in place to prevent its spread. So the Department of Ag here in Illinois, working with other states, working with emergency management folks, Homeland Security folks, there have been countless meetings and many, many hours put into place to come up with a plan to address that if it should happen. God forbid that it would happen, but if it does, we certainly have to do what we can to be prepared.
And again, back to, as you do, look for a silver lining, the fact that, folks are coming together and there is that open line of communication, that's key.
It is. I mean, the coordination between all the different agencies and states is going to be critical as we move forward here. So we just again, planning ahead of time is what is so important. If we wait to the last minute or until it happens and we're not prepared for it, it's going it could be even more devastating than what we've seen in Asia right now. So we're just trying to do what we can to be as prepared as possible.
So you mentioned it now, really month 5 as you prepare for another month in your office. So what's on your agenda, and what's your message this month?
Well, we've got a lot of challenges that we're facing out in the ag community right now. Of course, the whole trade wars with China. As you and I are talking here this morning, I just looked at the markets before we got on the air, and beans are down 25 cents, and corn was down almost a dime, down a nickel. I mean, because of the fears of a breakdown in those trade talks. So I can't stress enough that we have to get some stability to the markets here and to the commodity markets here, especially with regard to what's going on with the tariff and the trade wars with China. That has to be resolved, and I hope that the ag community is talking in unison, with the folks out in Washington to make that happen. I guess the other thing that's on my radar is obviously the flooding issue that's taken place along the Illinois and the Mississippi River, which is, I live right between those two rivers and very familiar with many of the farmers and many of the drainage districts and many of the communities that are being impacted by the high waters on both those rivers. So we've been having coordinating calls with the different agencies, IEMA, Homeland Security, Department of Natural Resources, Ag, State Police. They've all been on these calls trying to make sure the resources in place for those communities to do whatever they can to try to fight these floods. But obviously what we need right now is more sunshine and less rain.
Illinois Director of Agriculture, John Sullivan. While we wish for sun and drying conditions throughout this week, it's just not the case. Another wet one in store for most of Illinois. In the Effingham area, Tony Zaruzin farms with his brother and father. He's also a Pioneer field agronomist, and he talks with us about the conversations that he's been having with customers in southeast Illinois.
A lot of conversations on late maturity hybrids. When should I start switching? Is it too late to plant a 116, 117-day hybrid? The biggest concern is that we don't want to start giving up yield in terms of dry down. So we've got a long time before we need to start worrying about that. That's kind of the tipping point here in Southern Illinois would be that last couple days of May or even into the first couple days of June before you start moving into much earlier maturity. What we give up on the back end with yield is far more than what we would gain on the dry down. So that's been a big concern with growers and trying to walk through them, the process and what we'd be giving up. And it's a pretty emotional decision. I understand that. It's not easy to sit out there and let your corn dry. But what we'd be giving up in the long run is definitely worse than what we're getting in terms of dry down.
As we April conversations, for the most part, Tony, we were even at that point talking about, what would you do first? So some thought maybe they would get in early this year enough to go with beans first. Where are you guys in that area of the state thinking? And given the calendar date, is that sort of out the window, or do they go with soybean first and then allow the anhydrous its window?
Great question. Right now, it's whatever acre work is that's the one you go on. Ideally, anhydrous needs about 5 to 7 days of rest before you can go and plant behind it to try and avoid anhydrous burn. Mother Nature hasn't given us that window, so it's going to be compressed. I understand that. If you can go and plant beans while you're waiting, perfect. If you absolutely have to plant corn right now, I would suggest getting that anhydrous in as deep as possible to try and avoid any anhydrous burn to the root system.
Tony Zaruzin, Effingham Pioneer Field Agronomist, will break for markets and weather.
With the RFD Ag Market Summary for this Tuesday morning, I'm Jim Taylor. Corn, beans, and wheat all ending Monday lower. May corn closing at 355 3/4, down 7 1/4. July corn down 6 1/2, 364 1/4. September corn 371 3/4, down 6. May beans closing at 817 1/2, down 12. July beans down 12, 830 1/4, and August beans 836 1/2, down 12 1/4. July wheat closing at 437 1/4, down 3/4. September wheat down 1 1/4, 445 1/2, and December wheat 461 1/2, down 1 3/4. May bean meal 291.80, down 180. May bean oil 26.84, down 23 cents. In current electronic overnight trading, May corn up a penny. July corn down 1/2. September corn down 1/2, 371 1/4. July beans in the overnight down 3. August beans down 2 3/4, and September beans down 2 1/2, 839 3/4. July wheat in the overnight down 4. September wheat down 4 1/4, and December wheat down 4. 457 1/2. In the outside markets, July Brent crude oil 71.24. That's up 39 cents a barrel. The June gold contract down 150 this morning, 1282.30. In the livestock market from Monday, May lean hogs 82.37, down 297. June lean hogs down $3, 89.75. June live cattle 112.27, down 115. August live cattle down 75 cents, 108.40. May feeders 136.02, down 112. August feeder cattle 144.35, down 202. Illinois direct barrels and gilts trading weaker on Monday at 51 to 57. And I'm Jim Taylor for the RFD Radio Network.
Good morning, this is Dan Hicks from Freeze Notice Weather with the early morning weather update on the RFD Radio Network for this Tuesday morning. Greatest coverage of rain the past 24 hours occurred across some northern through western parts of the Midwest, including about the northern third of Illinois. Farther south in the state, any showers the past 24 hours have been more spotty. Daytime highs in the upper 60s and 70s were common across much of the Midwest yesterday, including here in Illinois, with cooler readings to the north and to the west. An active weather pattern is expected across the region the next 2 or 3 days, with warm temperatures over much of the southern through eastern Midwest and cooler weather to the north and west. Highs in the upper 60s, 70s, and low 80s will be common across the southern through eastern part of the region the next 2 or 3 days, with 50s and 60s more common farther to the north and west. Greatest coverage of showers and thunderstorms today into tonight will continue to be across the western and northern parts of the region, with rainfall in the Ohio Valley staying more spotty. As this latest weather system moves slowly eastward, though, greater coverage of rain and thunderstorms can be expected across all the Midwest through tomorrow into Thursday. Additional rainfall amounts of 1 to 2 inches will likely be fairly common across much of Illinois, with a few locally heavier amounts. Overall, it does look like heaviest rainfall into late this week will be over the western half of the Midwest. Once this system moves eastward out of the region, some dry time is expected late this week, and the overall weather pattern does look somewhat drier this weekend into the 6 to 10 day time frame. A minor system will bring a few light showers to the Midwest over the weekend, but the weather pattern starting on Friday and Saturday will feature a pattern with less major rainfall across the Midwest into the 6 to 10 day time frame, and also some dry time. 6 to 10 day rainfall should average near to below normal here in Illinois, with 6 to 10 day temps near to below normal. I'm Dan Hicks from Freeze Notice Weather.
Does the warmer weather have you itching for a weekend getaway? Take your Illinois Farm Bureau membership savings with you.
Farm Bureau members can save up to 20% at choice hotels, including favorites like Comfort Suites, Sleep Inn, Quality Inn and Suites, with even more to choose from.
Call 800-258-2847 or visit the Choice Hotels website to search all the hotels at once and to make advance reservations.
Contact your local County Farm Bureau for your discount code number.
From midnight snacks to holiday gatherings, food is a part of our culture that brings us together every day. To make sure we all have food on our tables, Illinois farmers are going beyond planting crops and raising animals. We're making sure the wildlife that helps our food grow has homes too. To learn more about conservation efforts, visit ilfarmersconserve.com. Preserving our water, protecting our land, providing our food.
This message brought to you by Illinois Farm Bureau.
Farm Week and Partners Magazine editor Chris Anderson connects rural routes for you. Chris shares her 4 decades of riding expertise by making sure each edition delivers the best information. Here's a bit about her rural roots.
I was raised on a farm in Champaign County growing corn, soybeans, popcorn, pumpkins, and poultry. My top priority is to inform, educate, and even entertain Farm Bureau members.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
Farm, family, food. Those 3 words best describe Illinois Farm Bureau. Farm. For 100 years, Farm Bureau in Illinois has represented and served the men and women who make Illinois one of the top food-producing states. Family. At the heart of rural Illinois are traditional farm families who work together through Illinois Farm Bureau. And food. Farm Bureau families are proud to grow the healthy food they provide their families and yours. Farm, family, food. The heart of Farm Bureau in Illinois.
That is all the time we have for this edition of RFD Illinois. Thanks for spending some time with us today.
That's right. We should salute a community while we're here.
Let's do it. Edwardsville, the county seat of Madison County, population 38,252. Wow. Huh. Now the location of Bagley's Farm Meat Market off of 157 at University Point.
Just east of campus then.
There you go. And Andrew is a producer in Macoupin County, so some local products there, too. Wish him the best.
Good to have a local meat guy. That's great. Sponsored by Country Financial. Your farm is your family.